What is the difference between a spiritual awakening and a Kundalini awakening, and why does it matter? If you're watching this, chances are that you're having both, or you're having one, at least you're having a spiritual awakening, because just because we're having a Kundalini awakening is not going to take you down the path of spirituality, divinity, consciousness, quantum healing, or anything that's going to mean that there is a bigger universe other than what we're experiencing physiologically. The reason being that Kundalini can be a very, very physiological experience, one that is going to feel inside of us. We're going to feel a lot of things inside of us. So much so that the kind of feeling that there is in different energy centers will amplify what every energy center represents. Now, if you're somebody who's got no spiritual path, no teacher, no guru, and you're going through a Kundalini awakening, right? And say, for example, you start to feel a little bit different. You feel like you're not quite there, or maybe you're feeling these tingling sensations, you're feeling a bit numb. You might be feeling like things are crawling all over you, a lot of heat, and you think, oh, I'm getting hot flashes. So why am I getting all of these things, right? And so you might end up at your doctor, you might end up at a medical professional. Now, the medical professional may diagnose you and they might find that there is absolutely nothing wrong. And from there, you move to another professional, and eventually, for some of you, this might even turn into a neurosis, a psychosis, because it depends on where this energy has lodged itself. This is one of the reasons that we say a Kundalini awakening is always most desirable when you have prepared your nervous system for this. Our nervous system, if is not prepared and if it's already in high gear, so if you're somebody who's already had your fair share of stress, trauma, that has affected various parts of our brain, right? So you're already in that stress mode. Now you add to that a Kundalini awakening and it will throw you off balance. However, having said that, if with a Kundalini awakening, you somehow stumble upon knowledge or maybe even a teacher, because Kundalini will guide you, right? And you're able to then transform an energy that is acting past your cutting edge, so it is not at an edge that you can handle or your nervous system can't handle it, then that can be taken back down again depending on where you are, right? There are lots and lots of variables when it comes to these awakenings. Because a spiritual awakening has very many overlapping symptoms, as does a Kundalini awakening, because they are primarily coming from the same creative force, right? The only difference is that one acknowledges the totality of our existence, right? One acknowledges and experiences that we are beyond the physicality and that there is more to what we are than just this body, and that we start to open up to all sorts of things, all sorts of portals, and you move from a mind and ego-centered life into a heart-based life, right? You're able to experience yourself in another. Whereas a Kundalini awakening can be very, very jarring and disturbing if you're having one but you know nothing about it, because it does not have to lead you into spirituality or even into the experiences that make sense of this Kundalini awakening. Because whilst we say that the Shakti will lead, because the only thing Kundalini knows is that she wants to rise up, But to rise up, right, the channel must be clear. Now, if the channel is not clear, she's got nowhere to go, right? And if she's got nowhere to go, wherever she is, your system will be overly charged at that point, right? Now, again, it depends on your own history, right? Do you already have certain levels of psychosis, maybe some form of trauma, maybe not, maybe you're just having a very normal life and you suddenly experience this and you don't know what it is, right? Now, thankfully, there's a lot of information on this that can then lead you to eventually going on to the spiritual awakening path, which can happen spontaneously again, or that you embrace a teaching, a community, and you find a teacher or you find each other and you go from there. When this happens, the Kundalini energy will be able to slot in nicely so that you're not out of balance. And this is where a lot of preparation, yoga, meditation, breath work, they all help, including a lot of grounding, a lot of connection with nature. But what goes against the flow of this is our resistance, our rigidity, our mind. When we are trying to mentalize what's happening, when we're trying to figure it out with our mind, oh my God, I'm going mad, what's happening to me? And because it will, and it does sometimes feel like that, when 1 minute you're here, the next minute you may not be. You may be feeling really spaced out, a bit like if you're on a psychedelic drug. And whatever trip you're on, that's how it feels when you're having a Kundalini awakening and you don't know what it is. So there are lots and lots of differences, lots and lots of overlaps. I am in the process of compiling these to present them to you so that you can see exactly what the differences are, where you can slot yourself in. But having said that, right, you will know wherever you are, and eventually you will move to a place of spirit, because it's got to happen, right? Kundalini is everywhere. That's the force that is everywhere, right? That's the creative force. That's Maya, right? But that Kundalini has the potential of giving rise to a whole universe, right? So the whole energy that created the universe also sits in each one of us, but latent and dormant, right? So we can have a spiritual awakening, and gradually a Kundalini awakening will eventually happen, because it's got to happen. So when you've had a spiritual awakening or you're having one, the Kundalini will inevitably rise. And that in itself is another journey. And when this happens, you will be better prepared for it, because you will be able to work with the Shakti, and you will find that it is clearing and cleaning a lot of your path. Now, without further ado, I will be back on these topics. Meanwhile, if you do have any questions, if you have any specific things in relation to the two that you would like me to address, then please do drop me a comment so I can incorporate this in the next segment on this one. Lots and lots of love. Happy awakening.